Tick-tock, tick-tock. Are y'all ready to rock?
It's music time! Hello, and welcome to It's Music Time. My name is Morgan Mitchell.
And I am Tanner Grover, and this is what we do. And today, we are doing it with
Toby McAllister.
Hey! How you guys doing?
So good. We're so happy you're here with us today. We're so honored.
Likewise, this is very cool.
Mainer. So beautiful.
I'm not just a Mainer, a Maine legend.
Maine legend.
And we are going to get into all things Toby in a minute, but we like to start off every episode with a little game. So, Toby, today we are going to play Which Mick, and we're going to present 5 trivia questions to you, and the answer is either going to be Mick Fleetwood or Mick Jagger. Are you ready to play? Are you ready to play Which Mick?
Sure.
All right, very good.
All right, question number 1 for Toby McAllister. Which Mick was the president of their grammar school's photography club? Was it Mick Fleetwood or Mick Jagger?
Mick Fleetwood.
Close! Jagger!
I'm not going to get any of these right.
Well, listen, nobody does. It's okay. Or some people do, but it's complete luck. Next.
Yeah.
Number 2. Which Mick was able to help one of their bandmates get over their fear of flying? Was it Mick Fleetwood or Mick Jagger?
Mick Fleetwood.
Yes!
Yes.
See, I knew that one. Yeah. I knew that one.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this guy's restaurant in Hawaii, so he flies all the time.
Restaurant in Hawaii, okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, which Mick auditioned for the role of Dr. Frank N.
Further,
the iconic character from the 1975's Rocky Horror Picture Show? Was it Mick Fleetwood or Mick Jagger?
That's got to be Mick Jagger.
Correct!
All
right.
What a different movie that would have been.
Yeah, for real, right?
All right, number 4. Which Mick is a huge fan of the ballet and even takes ballet lessons themselves? Is it Mick Fleetwood or Mick Jagger?
Just because it seems like maybe it wouldn't be Mick Jagger, I'm going to say Mick Jagger.
Correct.
You are on to something here.
Okay,
I think you're on a roll. Final question. Which Mick once bought a 1,000-acre farm in Australia in the early 80s with whimsical aspirations to start a new life? Was it Mick Fleetwood or Mick Jagger?
I'll go Mick Fleetwood on that one.
Correct,
yeah.
Wow, 4 out of 5?
Listen, you crushed this.
Pretty good.
You did very well.
Pretty good.
Pretty amazing. All right, next section. What do we got?
Well, we're going to launch into your bio, but just before we do that, we like to illuminate all of our guests on what the number 1 Billboard song was the day they were born. And so, Toby, you came into our lives on November 28th, 1986. Do you want to take a stab at what the number 1 Billboard song was?
Jeez. I don't know. It's going to make me feel old, though.
You just had a birthday.
Yes. Thanksgiving this year was quite a celebration.
God, that's so cool.
Michael Jackson, maybe? Something by Michael Jackson?
You know, that would be in the ballpark.
Extremely solid guess, because most people have a Michael Jackson song.
They do. We got a bunch of guests have one.
Yeah.
Nope. Instead, Shot Through the Heart, and You're to Blame, but You Give Love a Bad Name by John Bon Jovi.
Wow.
That is your birthday song.
You give love a bad name.
That's pretty rock and roll. I'll take it.
That's pretty badass. I think that's a good way to come into the world.
I think that's a sign. That's EP. We got to get that Bon Jovi cover.
Yeah. I'll ask my mom if that's what the doctors are playing as I was being delivered. I'm sure it was.
I think as you were being caught in the arms of the doctor,
yeah,
you came in with like one of these.
Yeah, for sure.
So good. All right, so it's time for Toby. Some like info about your life and some of the things you're up to. So like listeners, cozy in for a second, because I'm just going to read you some of this great magical info to really get a sense of who this amazing artist is. So sit back, relax for a minute, and I'm just going to read you some of what Toby's all about. So here we go. The state of Maine is known for its cold winters and picture-perfect summers. It's hard not to be inspired by the beauty of the changing seasons, and that's what you'll find in Toby's music. Known primarily as a founding member of Sparks the Rescue, Toby has been playing music since he was old enough to hold a guitar. Which was when, would you say?
I don't know. They got pictures of myself as, I don't know, 3 or 4 holding a guitar, making noise on it. And now we're doing that to our 4-year-old daughter. So she's making noise with her guitar. She dances around to Taylor Swift. Yeah.
I love it. The tradition continues. He spent his 20s touring the world in a 15-passenger van with his best friends. How cool is that? When Sparks started to slow down, he settled back in Maine with his family. In 2020, the pandemic brought in an unexpected source of inspiration, which led to his first solo EP, Daydreamin'. A few short months after its release, Toby was sharing the stage with big names and some of his idols. So get this, in March of 23, the follow-up to Daydreamin' was released, entitled Autumn Skies, which is a more serious combination of life, love, and rock and roll. Backing him up on his recording is the rhythm section of Sparks, which included drummer Nathan Spencer, Ben Briggs on bass. This trio has been playing together for over 20 years and have never stopped sharing their love for music. Autumn Skies was nominated for Album of the Year by the New England Music Awards. So in 2024, it brought on some new inspiration from multiple life-changing events, including the death of Toby's father and the birth of his second child. The Outsider EP was recorded on a scorching August week in the woods in Maine with producer Jonathan Wyman, released last October. It's the perfect batch of songs to be enjoyed on a cool autumn day while the leaves fall. Notably, the opening track titled Millinocket Stars has been added into the full radio rotation in Portland, Maine's rock station 98.9 WCLZ, which I can attest, I hear it all the time. So dope. Outside of original music, Toby is a full-time performing musician. His wedding band, the Jameson 4, does upwards of 15 weddings per year. So, listeners, if you're looking for a rock out experience on your reception, please get in touch with Toby. Toby McAllister and the Sierra Sounds have shared the stage with Carly Pierce, Ellie Young Band, Rhett Miller, the 97s, Drake White, Casey Tyndall, Billy Bob Thornton, and the Boxmasters, Eddie Montgomery, Dalton and the Sheriffs, the Mallet Brothers Band, and 12OC. We are so honored, so honored and delighted to have a Maine legend with us today. Welcome again, Toby, to this episode of It's Music Time. We're so thrilled you're here.
Wow, thanks for reading all that.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
Yeah, man, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like went down memory lane while you read it to me. Like, oh yeah, that's cool.
There's a lot of beautiful moments on the ride there.
Well, you know, and it's funny, in prepping for this episode and going back and listening to your catalog with Sparks the Rescue and then flash forwarding to, your EP, The Outsider, I mean, I've seen this kind of metamorphosis of, evolving from this, pop punk band, the emo scene that was so hot in the early 2000s with All American Rejects, The Used, Newfound Glory. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And now, you've got this, you've maintained pop rock sensibilities in your music, but you've matured, I mean, you hear the slide guitars and, fiddles, and you've got this kind of Americana vibe in a lot of ways with your newer music. But before we get into kind of the evolution, can you maybe take us back to who young Toby was and your interest in music? How did that begin? Where did this all stem from?
It's probably middle school that I really started getting into music and wanting to play guitar. And Ben and Nate, who I still play with today, we were buddies in 7th grade and started jamming in the band room in the hallways at school. And we just wanted to like cover Blink-182 songs and Offspring songs. And so even in the dead of winter out in my mom's barn, there was no heat. We'd be out there in like January, just like playing till we couldn't feel our fingers. And we were just horrible band, so bad. And we started playing shows, and after a few years, we started getting better. And then, right out of high school, we all signed up to go to USM. And instead of going to class every day, we just would go to band practice. And after, I think, the second semester, we all dropped out and got signed to our first record label. And that's kind of when sparks hit the road for many, many years. So that's kind of like my childhood in a quick snapshot.
Amazing.
Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, are you self-taught, would you say? Or like, did you have any kind of guidance in those early, like, formative years?
No, I just taught myself, and I learned how to read like guitar tabs. And, like I said, it was bands like Blink-182 and The Offspring were my doorway, like gateway into punk rock music. And so I would buy their like tablature books and study them and how to play them on guitar. And, after many, many months, I'd be able to play a song. And then when I found friends who I could play the songs with, we were like, oh, this is even cooler, even though it was really bad. It was still super fun.
So good.
Yeah, definitely self-taught, though.
That's impressive. I mean, so I think, part of the premise of our show is, Morgan and I are two people who love music, but it's like that part of our brain doesn't work. It doesn't compute, So when we talk to people like yourselves, we're always, just so impressed. So, I mean, right out of the gate, you started in junior high, and then, Sparks to the Rescue really takes off. I mean, how old were you? Like 19, 20 years old? Something like that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, probably 20. And then by the time we started touring, I was just like freshly 21. We all were. It was just, our poor parents, we're just these 21-year-old kids. Like, we're going to go live in a van for 5 years and travel the world and play music in bars every night. Love you. Bye. It was an experience. It was like, I feel like going to college offers one sort of education that's important. And I think we all got a much different education, like we played the continental United States, every state, like for, many, many times, saw the dive bar that each city had to offer. And, like some cool stuff we got to do. We eventually got signed to Fearless Records out of California, and we were on the William Morris Agency booking agency, which was a big deal. And we got to do like the Vans Warped Tour. We got to do a European tour, the All American Rejects. Like, there was a lot of cool stuff that happened in between a lot of like the roughing it. We roughed it a lot, It's like living in a van. Couldn't really afford hotel rooms. We would put a sign on our merch table every night, like, would anyone please let us sleep on your floor? We'll give you a free T-shirt. Like, that was basically our life for 5-6 years.
Amazing.
It was cool. I mean, I think I've blacked out a lot of the bad stuff because it was not always awesome. It was hard, it was really hard. We had, after a while, because we were a party band too. We loved to party. We had like a driving list on the van window, and like we had to take it in shifts because, it was lots of overnight drives. The Warped Tour every night was a 9-hour drive. And so, you're in the sun all day. You're so tired. You're not really eating great. You're not hydrated. You're drinking whiskey all night. And then someone's gonna be like, all right, who's driving to the next city?
Wow.
But it was, overall, it was a good time. I'm glad we all survived.
And this is 5 years. This is 20 to 25 about.
Yeah. And then, even after that, we still toured a lot, but the band underwent some changes, and
sure,
the touring became a little less heavy. We'd only be gone a few months out of the year, because in those early days it would be like I wouldn't sleep in my bed for like 6 months. We'd just be gone. We'd end one tour and then drive from Colorado to Georgia to start the next one. It was just like boom, boom, boom. It was pretty relentless. Yeah.
Did you ever have a moment during that time frame where you felt like things slowed down because you were so like in awe of where you were, or like something felt surreal? Like what was a what's a highlight that kind of stands out to you?
Yeah, there was a few times. I mean, like I grew up listening to bands like Mayday Parade, and Brooks, their guitar player, ended up being our manager for like 2 years. So like that was cool.
Hey, wow.
They took us out on a bunch of tours. Being on the Warp Tour was unbelievable to me. You know, we like Sum 41 would be waiting in the side stage to go on after us during the day, and like, you know, then the Warp Tour like catering is the wildest thing because you just go. It's lunchtime, so everyone goes and eats lunch, and it's like I'm sitting at a lunch table with members of Alkaline Trio and the Early November and Sum 41, and we're all just like hanging out. I'm like, what is happening right now?
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah. It's cool stuff like that. You know, the European tour with the All American Rejects was a career highlight. You know, we went and did Austria, France, London, Germany, just hanging out backstage with like the All American Rejects. We all grew up listening to their music. Just it was definitely a lot of cool moments back then. That it did. I always have tried to just take a minute and say, hang on, just like soak up this moment, what's happening right now, because it's the coolest thing, and it's gonna pass. It's gonna be gone.
Yes.
So I've always tried to like enjoy the present as much as I can, because it goes quick, and then it's just a memory. So
Sure. Well, it's like I think you're in the midst of now another kind of creative bubble with your music, with the Sierra Sounds, and you've been gigging relentlessly in early 2025. I mean, I think you've played probably 30 or 40 shows already this calendar year. I mean, what's kind of next step for you? Is it more recording, more touring? I mean, where do you see yourself going, or what are your ambitions? I mean, I think I know. I foresee you headlining the State Theater sooner rather than later. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel like there's a Toby McAllister blueprint, in the making. What is that?
but I really appreciate you saying that. It's very nice. No, I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm not alone as, you know, a musician, that I struggle with severe imposter syndrome. And anytime something good happens to me, I try to rationalize why this shouldn't be happening. You know, like being on the radio. Every time I hear it on the radio, I'm like, that's probably the last time I'm ever going to hear that, because
why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we torture ourselves like this as artists? What is this complex? So many people struggle with it.
It's really annoying.
It is.
And so, yeah, I mean, I would love to play a show at the State Theater. That feels like that's an example of something that feels so out of reach and out of the realm of possibility in my life, that if it ever were to happen, I would just be like completely blown away. So
I can see it. I think it's going to happen.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I think maybe it's I've just been trained myself to always expect the worst, and then if anything cool happens, like, oh wow, why is that happening? That's weird. Sure. So, you know, having a song on the radio is a good example of, like I said, it's just every time I hear it, I'm like, well, I bet tomorrow's the day they take it out of rotation. So hopefully they don't, but
just the beginning. You know, there's something about punk rock or punk culture that I've always felt really inspired by, and this kind of like outsiderly, liberated, kind of empowered underground vibe, like that. Yeah. It's hard to really put words. It's more of a feeling, but yeah. I wonder how much of that feeling you could put words to, or how much like what would be some either moments or like parts of almost like the greater culture that have like been a part of your story.
Yeah, I mean, I think, sorry, I don't know if you can hear my dog barking in the background.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's, again, going back to high school and having that new world opened up by pop punk bands. Like, that ended up leading me down into more like hardcore punk music. And I was listening to stuff that no one else in my high school listened to. I went to Poland in a very small town. And sure. So, you know, me and a couple of buddies all were in the same kind of music, and we all sat at the same lunch table every day. And You do. It is. It's it's being an outsider. That's kind of what I've always felt like, and it does. If it's empowering in a way, you're right, because it's like being comfortable, being a little bit different than everybody else, and being comfortable going against the grain a little bit, and it does. It feels like makes you feel more independent to a degree, and that's always. I feel the same way as you. I feel like it's always kind of been empowering. Yeah.
Yep. Very cool.
I don't know if I answered your question or not.
You surely did.
Okay.
It's the feeling of it. Yeah, more than anything. All right, so what do we think? Should we move on to Deep Cut?
I think we should.
Okay, so Deep Cut is a part of our segment, our show here, where we go a little deeper. We ask kind of a question of our artist, our guest, and of each other, where we kind of riff a little bit and go a little bit, down a winding road. So here we go today. This episode, we want to ask the question about what single song best embodies who you are as a person. That's like a big chunk. That's a huge question. So ways to answer that question might be the one song or part of your personality or different layers of who you were over time. So if you're unable to identify such just one song, could be a song which relates at least to one facet of who you are, or your process of becoming. So do you have any answers that you kind of percolating on?
That's tough. I'm sure people have a tough time with this one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard one.
Because I listen to a lot of different stuff. I still like hardcore punk rock music. I like some metal. I like country music. I like emo music, like really sad Death Cab for Cutie stuff. And
oh my God,
my taste in music's all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've always come back to one song that's been with me since I was a kid, and that'd probably be "Time Bomb" by the Old 97s, because they've always captured this it's like if I had to pick a perfect song, that's a perfect song to me. It's got elements of alternative country, rock and roll, and the fast punk rock stuff that I really like. And so they've been one of my favorite bands since I was a kid. And back, I don't know, I'm looking at the post right now. I think it was 2021. I was able to go on a 6-day tour with them, with this band. And so that was another moment of I somehow manifested this thing and it happened.
You sure did.
And it was beside myself all week. I would just be sitting in the green room and be it's this is real life, right? This is happening. Yeah. So I think that would be my pick. That's my song.
That's super solid. I like that very much. I want to listen to that song.
Yeah, I think.
Go ahead.
It's a good song to get pumped up to. I think you'll probably dig it. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Always in search of a good pump up song. All right, Tanner, you, my friend, what do you think?
So, I mean, I could go a bunch of different directions on this, but I got to go with an obvious band choice, and it's an REM song. So listeners to this podcast know that I'm obsessed with REM. I have been my entire life. And,
cool.
There's different songs in their catalog that speak to me and, kind of embody who I am as a person. I could pick a sadder song. They have a track called The Wrong Child, which is off of their album Green. And that song, see, Michael Stipe rarely writes from his own perspective. He always writes from a character's perspective. Yeah. And that song is from the perspective of someone that's disabled. And I'm physically disabled. And so I, kind of resonate with that. But I don't want to pick that one, because one of the kind of, mantras that I've lived with my entire life is I don't want the disability to define me. So another track that they have that really resonates with me is called "What If We Give It Away," and that's a song off a Life Church Pageant. And I looked into the backstory of the song, and the song itself, the lyrics don't really kind of match the way I feel about the title of the song. I think it's actually a song written from the perspective of pioneers encroaching on Native American land, and then the Native Americans in response kind of say, well, what if we just give it away? Almost in a, like a dire sense.
Yeah.
But I kind of approach it from just the sense of, the world is so commercialized nowadays, and everything is a commodity. And my father's a businessman. We've run a hardware store for 75 years, and he,
Wow. Cool.
has, lived his whole life putting that in a place of importance. And I'm a little naive at times, and we kind of just phrase things as, what if we just give it away, and
Yeah.
kind of do things out of the goodness that way. And so that's something I really believe in, and that's a track that I think embodies a part of who I am. So that's my answer.
I have not heard that song, but I'm gonna be sure to listen to it this afternoon.
Yeah, give it a listen. I mean, it's I wouldn't call REM's early work punk, but it's maybe punk right or punk left.
Yeah, punk adjacent.
Punk adjacent. There you go.
Punk parallel.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, this is the worst question ever. Like, I don't know how I can ever come up with an answer. I mean, it's a great question, Tanner. Don't get me wrong, but like, it sucks. I don't know. I think. Okay, so like you were saying, Toby, like, there's so many songs, but there's one that's kind of carried me since childhood. Like one that I had instant resonance with the first time I heard it as a kid, and I still I get little pricklies every time I hear it. Even today. And I think it would be Do You Believe in Magic by the Lovin' Spoonfuls. Like that song is just such a banger.
Yeah.
I love it. I do believe in magic fundamentally as a person. And so I feel like it's just one of those, could listen to it forever and ever in any setting. I mean, if I'm in kind of a funky mood or like a low place, I'll listen to it and kind of remember that sort of easeful childlike wonder. And I have a memory. I grew up here in Booth Bay. We both did in Booth Bay Harbor. Cool. Like quiet, small town, Maine. But in the summer it kind of bustles because we're coastal and whatever. But I remember like living in Booth Bay Harbor and was in our bedroom. The window was down. It was a summer day. The air was coming through, and I had my sister's CD player, and I was playing the CD and playing Do You Believe in Magic on repeat. I don't even think I had a repeat button. I think I had to go back and click replay. And just jumping on the bed, window open, breeze coming in, and just being like, this is it. Like, this is a dopamine flood. Like, I'm feeling so good right now. And so, that song does that for me. I think that's a big one. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Brings you back to like that moment of pure joy.
Pure joy.
Yeah.
Pure joy.
That's very cool.
How old are your kids? So one is just very new, and then the other's 4?
Yep. Adeline is our daughter. She's 4 years old. And then Emmett is our son, and he is 4 months old.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Congratulations. It's so cool.
Thanks. Yeah, we're very tired.
I bet.
Yeah,
that's so much work. Oh my goodness. All right. So moving on, I guess, to our kind of final-ish segment.
Yeah. So we are now going to talk about our Mix It Up playlist. Every episode, we have a Mix It Up playlist that accompanies the episode that you can click on in the Spotify description. We've asked Toby to submit 4 songs. I've submitted 4, as has Morgan. We are going to add Toby's birthday song to that mix, because who doesn't want a little Bon Jovi in their lives? But Toby, so what's a selection that you want to kind of maybe highlight and talk about?
Yeah, what did I, make sure I remember what I submitted to you.
It's okay. This is me every week, too. I'm like, hold on. What did I do?
Brain. Things are hard. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, so I submitted 4 songs. Turnpike Troubadours, Brought Me. It was the first one. Have you guys listened to Turnpike Troubadours?
I have not, personally. But I'm about to.
Yeah, they're very good. Their newer CD is a little more chill than their previous stuff, but they ride that line of like alternative country. Like you're not going to hear them on country radio because they're not pop country, but very, very good songs. And them and bands like the Old 97s, I really like them because like you were talking about writing from characters' perspectives, I think is something that, and I'm trying to do as well. And it can be kind of hard and challenging because it's like an exercise, you know. The first EP and maybe into the second one, I was pretty much strictly writing like from my perspective, and I'm trying now to get out of that a little bit because you know, you don't want to keep writing about the same stuff, right? And so anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but Turnpike Troubadours are great songwriters. I had the Interrupters, Gave You Everything, just because I don't know if you guys listen to Interrupters. They're a wicked fun punk rock band. They remind me of like in high school, there was that moment of like, you know, like Rancid and the Distillers, and like they're female fronted. They're very fun and fast and loud.
Cool.
Vandaliers, Rolling Out. It's a great song to get pumped up to as well. I got to see them live a year and a half ago down in Boston. They played a small club called the Middle East. Super fun band.
I've been there. It's a great venue.
Yeah, cool place. And my last pick was a song by the Pogues called Stream of Whiskey. I grew up on the Pogues. I've always loved them. And have recently, in the past year and a half, gotten back into them, like a second wave of just that Irish Celtic punk sound that I grew up with. And I really, really like it. So much so that me and some buddies formed a Shane MacGowan tribute band after he passed away last year. And we've done like a St. Patty's Day and then a halfway to St. Patty's Day show. And we'll probably do another one next year. But
that's amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, those are my 4 picks for the playlist. I'm not sure if I did that right, if I was supposed to talk about
perfect. That's perfect. Some people do all 4, some people pick 2, some people it's perfect. I love the variety. And you know, I was listening to your latest EP and I heard a lot of those sounds in your EP, the variety of some like alternative country, some Irish Celtic, some punk, like really so stunning to listen to it. I was listening to it just this afternoon, and then to hear you like pluck out those 4 kind of like, they almost feel like the pillars of your sound. It was so cool to hear. Yeah,
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. I love that.
I think it's cool to not be nailed down by a genre, really, right? Because at the end of the day, we all just want to nail every band down into a genre. Like, oh, this is a country band, this is a rock band, it's a punk band.
Right.
But
yeah,
this last EP I did certainly is not nailed down by a genre, and I didn't mean it to not be. It just
makes it so rich. It makes it so rich, so fun to listen to. Yeah.
I feel like
because yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say like the obvious, like the thread of it feels very like there's a lot of continuity in the EP, and yet you hear those different sounds, and somehow they all very much complement each other. Almost that like outsider theme, like in these different subcultures, it kind of is like this like undercurrent that almost binds them together.
Yeah, that makes me really happy to hear. Thanks for saying that. And I appreciate you guys listening to it. And it's hard to get people to listen to a 5-song EP that they've never heard before. You know, every time someone says, "Oh, I listened to your CD," I'm like, "Geez, thanks a lot. Appreciate it."
It's such a joy. I listened a couple times. Yeah.
I think it makes it hard for promoters sometimes because it's like, I feel like people don't necessarily know what to do with me in the band. I'm like, "Hey, you need an opener for that show," and they're like, "Well, you know, you're not really a pop punk band, so I don't think it would fit. You're more of a country band." And then a country person will come through and be like, "Hey, do you need an opener for that show?" I'm like, "Well, you're not really a country band. You're more of a pop punk band." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know what to say. I think we just want to play for new people. That's the main goal here. So we just got to keep
exactly. I could be wrong, but I think there's some like genre softening happening in the world of music right now, and perhaps it will get easier as time goes on and this sort of amalgamation movement happens of different genres and people, you know, expanding their sound, you know, across genres so much, I feel.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it would be great to have it be less rigid, you know?
Totally.
Yeah, well, in terms of pop music, right? Like, pop music changes all the time. So like in terms of like your audience and growing your base, I mean, grunge, only lasted really for like 2 or 3 years. Right. You don't even hear that stuff anymore, So I think you just keep doing what you're doing,
Totally.
and people will catch on.
You must.
Yeah, it's I've talked to a few people about it and listened to a few of my artists talk about it on podcasts. But this is the envy trap that artists get into of like seeing someone else succeed and be like, well, maybe I should change what I'm doing or try to do it a different way. And again, why is that not happening to me? And I feel like it's easy to get caught into that, and I try really hard not to do that. And I talked to John Wyman, the guy I've been working with forever, and he's done all my CDs, and he's just like, just the best thing you can do is just write what you want to write and make sure you're being true to yourself and make sure you have something to say and in your songs, And so that's what I've just continued to do. And honestly, things like getting the song on the radio, it's like, wow, it's like that's a huge deal. Like it felt like this is a payoff from working hard over the past few years, and that's been very, very cool to see happen. So I'm just gonna keep my nose down and writing the stuff that I like and trying to make sure I have something to say.
Beautiful. That's such powerful advice. We talk about him a lot, but I love listening to Rick Rubin talk about his philosophy in songwriting and producing, and like it's so that, which is like just be as authentic to yourself as possible. Like as an artist, that's our job, is just to be as true to our own curiosity and have our channel as open as possible to our own inspiration. And that, the audience is out there somewhere that's going to really resonate with your authentic expression. But gosh, do I relate? I'm more of a visual artist, but I really relate to that. Like, oh, I'm seeing this person have a success over here. Like maybe that means that I should kind of pivot more towards that style. And it's like, wait a minute, no, like, it's hard and it takes a lot of patience and a lot of courage. But it's like the more true to your actual expression you are, the more resonance you can potentially find, authentic resonance in an audience.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, there's different exercises you can do. Like some songwriters think, well, maybe I should take the subject and make it as broad as possible so I can reach as many people as I can. But the complete opposite school of thought on that is like, be more specific about writing about a specific thing. And you're going to find that more people are going to relate to that more specific thing than you think, rather than just making this broad statement that you think everyone's going to relate to. All of a sudden it starts to feel a little inauthentic. I think.
And it's so funny when you mentioned like sad songs, Death Cab for Cutie. Like I love Death Cab for Cutie. Plans is one of my favorite albums of all time. And I have these memories of being young and just like headphones in, like gazing out a window, listening to some of the most specific descriptions, like brothers in a hotel bed, like, being in the ER and like the smells of all that stuff and just being like, these are maybe
what Sarah said.
What Sarah said, like thinking of what Sarah said, like all of this stuff. And you're just like, why is this resonating with me so hard? Why do I want to listen to this obsessively on repeat? Not because it's like a reflection of my specific life, but because for whatever reason, it's so perfect. And it's like, that's such an example of that specificity where you're like, why is this working? But it is.
He is I only hope one day I can write a song like him. Because he does. If you just like close your eyes and listen to like what Sarah said, for example, you are in the waiting room of a hospital. Like you're just, the picture's painted, you're there, and it's crazy.
Yes.
It's so crazy.
Yes.
So one day, hopefully, I can write something like that.
Oh my God.
I think you keep manifesting. That's the word I keep coming back to. You said it, Toby.
Yeah, you're doing it.
You keep manifesting, and I think
100%.
You're going to get a call from Ben Gibbard, and you're going to open up. It's going to be great.
It's going to happen. Anything's possible.
I like the way you think.
Anything's possible. Tanner, what do we got? What do you think? What's your song?
So the one song I want to highlight is it's a now defunct band. I think their lead singer is still performing, Bomb the Music Industry. And one of my favorite tracks of theirs is Campaign for a Better Weekend. Came out in, I think, 2011, maybe 2014, something like that. But they're a ska punk band, almost a collective, I think,
Cool.
is how you would describe them, where they had a lot of people coming in and out, but they perform with such energy. This song builds and builds and builds and builds, and then just has this, crazy release toward the end of it. And, where we've got a guest that has a background of a punk aesthetic, I thought it was an appropriate choice. But check that track out. Morgan, what about you?
Love it. So I chose a song that I've been listening to on repeat recently. A dear friend of ours, Naomi Westwater, who is a folk musician, multimedia artist, just an incredible force, a poet. And they wrote this amazing song called Bulbs, which is about getting through the winter. It's about planting bulbs in November and sort of having this prayer of making it through the winter, through the darkness. And this is part of a broader album called Cycle and Change, which is following the wheel of the year through all the different seasons. And the words are poetry. The vocals are hauntingly beautiful. And the instrumentals, there's like an interlude in the middle of the song that sounds like a bulb rooting and beginning to germinate in the ground. I don't know how else to explain it. It's so well done. Yeah. So I've been listening to that on repeat. Bulbs by Naomi Westwater. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. I'm gonna have to check this stuff out.
Definitely. This will be a really good playlist.
It's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're kind of headed towards the end of our time together, which is a bummer. It flew, but also so good. There's been so much juiciness in here. We want to make sure people know where to find you. So we're going to plug some socials here. We've got some social media handles. So where can you find Toby? TobyMcAllister.com. That's simple enough. Instagram at Toby McAllister. Facebook is Toby McAllister Music.
Yeah.
And TikTok, Toby McAllister. YouTube, Toby McAllister. Spotify, just search.
Try to keep it easy, right?
Good. Yeah. Super
I'm really bad at TikTok. So, if you go to my TikTok, you're going to see a late 30s guy trying to figure out how to use TikTok.
Those are the best TikToks.
I don't even go on TikTok because I'm so not there either.
I'm not there either, but I'm pretty sure those are the best TikToks.
Maybe.
And this is the It's Music Time podcast. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Just It's Music Time podcast. So that kind of wraps up. Before we kind of go to the next little portion, is there anything we didn't touch on that you want to make sure listeners know what you're about, or things coming up or anything?
Yeah, no, just give me a follow on social. Hope to see you at a show, and I really appreciate you guys having me on this. This has been super cool.
Rock on.
Absolutely.
So fun.
And we don't want our fans to touch that dial because, as always, we have an encore performance. And Toby, what music video are we sharing today? What's the name of the song?
I think we're going to be playing a clip from Headlights and Fireflies.
Headlights and Fireflies.
Yeah, it was produced, and all the videos have been produced by Elijah and Jedediah Allen, who play in a funk band called Skosh. They're amazing. They're also amazing videographers, and they've done all my music videos, and we always come up with the wackiest ideas. And so this one, where we went into the Bates Mill and had some of our kids dress up as ghosts, and we are ghost hunters trying to catch the ghosts in the old mill. So that's what this video is.
Dreamy. I've always wanted to get in that mill. That's so cool.
That's very cool.
It took a little bit to get in there, but they gave us permission.
I was going to say, how did you pull it off? I feel like there's so many weird abandoned places where I'm like, if I could just get in there.
Yeah, it took a little while, but we got in there.
Good for you.
That's awesome.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you, Toby. Thank you, universe, for tuning in. We'd love to hear any feedback. Write some comments, have some questions for us, for Toby. We love, keeping the energy moving, the conversation going. Share this podcast with a friend. We appreciate your support, listeners. Until next time, stay cooler than cool. And thank you again, Toby. Have a wonderful
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
See ya.
You too. Bye.
On this episode, Toby and the gang explore an abandoned mill that is the subject of local lore and shrouded in mystery.
Did you hear that?
What frights await on this episode of Mission Apparition? Now, let's meet the team.
So Toby thinks we're here to help him on this ghost hunt, but we're really making a prank video of our own.
He's not gonna know what hit him.
I spend restless nights just hoping that I'll find you in a dream. The blinking ace beside my bed make it hard to fall asleep. Someone's always watching me with eyes that never seem to close. I lay awake all night in fear and wonder if anybody knows. I think I lost my mind when your eyes met mine. All I wanna do is waste all of your time. It doesn't matter if the world gets left behind. We can let the darkness fall and run around the night with the satellites. With the satellites. We put the buttons down the front so they can easily come undone. But we're not done, I'm sure of it, 'cause all we have to do is run.
Come on, dude, we were just kidding.
Yeah, man.
Hey, wait a second. What's that though?
We didn't do that. Seriously, dude, we didn't do that.
I think I lost my mind when your eyes met mine. All I wanna do is waste all of your time. It doesn't matter if the world gets left behind. We can let the darkness fall and run around the night with the satellites. With the satellites. With the We can let the darkness fall.
The It's Music Time podcast is an independent passion project produced by Tanner Grover and Morgan Mitchell. The theme song for this podcast is by Ben Shepherd, the artist known as Yay Yay. Find him on Instagram at Yay Yay Music. Thanks for tuning in to the It's Music Time podcast. See you next time.